On April 16, 2013, the United States was on high alert. Just the day before, 2 bombs had gone off at the Boston Marathon, shaking the entire country. Security was already at an all-time high, and then another threat appeared: poisoned letters sent to the President of the United States. Yeah, President Barack Obama. But he wasn't the only one. Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker got one. So did a local judge, Sadie Holland. And these letters weren't just angry political rants. They were laced with ricin, one of the deadliest toxins in the world. This stuff makes cyanide look like a vitamin supplement. A few micrograms, smaller than a grain of salt, can shut down your body in days, destroying your liver and kidneys until there's no coming back. There's no antidote, no cure. If you get hit with ricin, you die. And the message inside? It was unhinged. No one wanted to listen to me before. There are still missing pieces. Maybe I have your attention now, even if that means someone must die. And at the bottom, a signature. I am KC, and I approve this message. The FBI sees this and immediately knows who they're looking for. Paul Kevin Curtis, a 45-year-old Elvis impersonator from Corinth, Mississippi. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy they think just tried to assassinate the president is a wedding singer. Hey! This story is just getting started. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more here on Talescape. Now, this wasn't some random name they pulled out of nowhere. Kevin had a history of sending long, rambling letters to politicians, ranting about government conspiracies. He had spent years trying to expose what he believed was an illegal black market for human organs. He claimed hospitals were stealing body parts from dead patients and selling them, and he had made it his mission to let the world know. And the way he did that? By writing hundreds of letters to government officials, warning them about missing pieces in the system. Every single one ended the same way. I am KC, and I approve this message. So when 3 poisoned letters show up, with those exact words at the bottom, the FBI doesn't waste time. On April 17, 2013, they show up at Kevin's house in full force, guns drawn, search warrant in hand. They kick in the door, throw him to the ground, cuff him up, and haul him away. The guy barely has time to process what's happening before he's sitting in an interrogation room, being accused of trying to murder the President of the United States. And to the FBI, this is open and shut. The letters came from Mississippi. Kevin lives in Mississippi. He has a documented history of sending aggressive messages to these exact politicians. And that signature, it's practically his trademark. To them, Kevin isn't just guilty, he's a Except there's one problem. Kevin Curtis has no idea what they're talking about. And worse, he didn't do it. But the real criminal? Oh, he's out there, watching, waiting, because this wasn't just a crime, it was a setup. Kevin Curtis sat in an FBI interrogation room, staring at the agents across from him, completely freaking out. He had no idea why he was there, no idea what they were talking about, and definitely no idea how he had just gone from a small-town Elvis impersonator to a suspected terrorist. The feds weren't playing around. They hit him with every question imaginable. When did you make the ricin? Where did you get the castor beans? Who helped you? But Kevin just sat there, repeating the same thing over and over. I don't know what you're talking about. But here's the thing. The FBI wasn't just running on theory. They had evidence. The letters were postmarked from Mississippi. Kevin lived in Mississippi. The messages inside used phrases that Kevin had written in the past. A drought percent. And that signature, I am KC and I approve this message, was his signature catchphrase. So to them, this wasn't if he did it, it was how fast they could prove it. Meanwhile, outside of that room, the media was going nuts. The headlines were everywhere. Elvis impersonator arrested in Ricin terror plot. Mississippi man accused of poisoning President Obama. Kevin's face was on every news channel. Reporters were outside his house talking to neighbors, digging into his past. And his reputation? Destroyed overnight. But the problem was, the FBI had jumped the gun. Because while they were parading Kevin around as public enemy number 1, they hadn't actually found any ricin. They raided his house, his car, his computer. They checked his trash, and you know what they found? Nothing. No castor beans. No traces of poison. No weird chemical searches on his internet history. There was literally no evidence that Kevin had ever even touched ricin, let alone mailed it to the President of the United States. And now, the FBI had a problem because their slam dunk case was starting to fall apart. Meanwhile, Kevin sat in that jail cell, realizing that the longer this dragged out, the worse it was going to get. Nobody was going to believe he was innocent unless the real criminal was caught. And in his mind, there was only one person who could have set him up: James Everett Dutschke. Kevin had been saying it since day one, but nobody was listening. And Dutschke? He was loving every second of it. James Everett Dutschke was watching this all unfold, probably feeling pretty damn smug. He had done it. He had successfully framed his longtime enemy, Paul Kevin Curtis, for one of the biggest crimes in the country. The guy was rotting in jail, his name destroyed, and as far as Dutschke was concerned, game over. But what he didn't realize, the FBI was about to turn all of its attention directly on him. See, at first, Dutschke wasn't even on their radar. He was just some random guy in Mississippi. But the second Kevin started screaming his name to anyone who would listen, the feds had to at least look into it. And the deeper they looked, the more things stopped making sense. For one, Kevin had no ricin, none. Not even a trace, which made zero sense because ricin isn't something you can just wash away. If he had made it, there would be some kind of chemical residue somewhere. But every search, his house, his car, his electronics, came up clean. Meanwhile, Dutschke was out there giving news interviews, voluntarily, and instead of playing it cool, he did exactly what guilty people do. He tried way too hard to convince everyone that Kevin was guilty. I knew this guy was crazy. I always said he was dangerous. He's been obsessed with me for years. Maybe he wanted to frame me, which is hilarious because nobody had even accused him of anything yet. But now, they were about to. The FBI decided to check his house, and that's when they found the first real evidence: traces of castor beans, the raw ingredient for ricin, in his trash. Then they checked his search history. Turns out Dutschke had been looking up ricin production before the letters were sent. And then, the final nail in the coffin. Hidden in a storage unit he rented, they found a printed envelope, same formatting, same wording, identical to the one sent to Obama, Wicker, and Holland. At this point, game over. On April 27, 2013, 10 days after Kevin Curtis was arrested, the FBI switched targets. They showed up at Dutschke's house, slapped the cuffs on him, and this time they had their guy. But Dutschke? He refused to go down easy. He dragged the case out for over a year, claiming he was being set up, that Kevin was actually the mastermind. Nobody bought it. In May 2014, with nowhere left to run, Dutschke finally pleaded guilty. He admitted to manufacturing and mailing ricin-laced letters, and for his grand plan, he got 25 years in federal prison. Kevin Curtis, meanwhile, he walked free. His name had been cleared, but his life completely ruined. He had spent days in jail, had his reputation destroyed, and all because some bitter, broke, failed politician wanted revenge. And the most ridiculous part? Dutschke wasn't even good at framing someone. He just got lucky that the FBI was in such a rush to arrest somebody that they ignored all the warning signs. But in the end, justice caught up with him. And Kevin Curtis? Well, he went back to doing what he loved, singing Elvis songs. And this time, people actually listened to his message. Thanks for tuning in to Talescape. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories where ambition meets chaos and sometimes history.